Hi, my name is Brad Smart, and the title of this top grading tips article is How A Players Make Decisions. I begin with a summary. A players learn at warp speed, analyze the heck out of everything, connect the dots better than others, are decisive but sometimes hip shoot, are fanatical about executing the decision, and A players have a secret weapon. They're highly resourceful. In hundreds of thousands of oral case studies, we at Top Grading Incorporated routinely ask candidates for both successes and failures in each of their jobs. So we have literally heard over 1 million explanations of executive decision making. We heard about the challenges they faced as they entered each job, how they made decisions, and what the outcomes were, good and bad. Here's what most A players do most of the time to make good decisions. 1. A players learn at warp speed. They're bursting with intellectual curiosity. When a problem or opportunity crosses their path, they're like a shark that smells blood. They immediately learn whatever they can, as fast as they can, by tapping resources inside the company and outside the company, vendors or former associates, Google, whatever. A players are eager to learn and passionately do the best they can to learn enough to make the right decision. If they don't learn enough to, obviously a bad decision can result. And if they allocate the time to learn far more than was necessary, a great opportunity might be lost. It's not easy figuring out how much to learn about an issue or how to best learn. But A players are A players because they do figure it out. Number 2, A players analyze. A players are always analyzing the heck out of issues, every issue, from global economics to company strategy to, what's the best summer program for my kids to maybe how to organize the Christmas party. It's in their genes to analyze. They frequently perform instant analysis, using their experience to think of a few pluses, a few minuses, and then make a quick decision. Good, that was good enough. However, for new or highly complex issues, they generally sit down, they slow down the whole process. Maybe they use a yellow pad to list the pluses and minuses. Now they can do that on Excel. Some get really sophisticated, throwing in weighting systems and probability estimates. They run their ideas by others, their analyses. They poke holes in the analysis, ask others to poke holes in it, to judge it. In part, A players are A players because they judge how much analysis is enough. Again, too little analysis, and they might have a poor decision. But so-called analysis paralysis with slow meeting after meeting after meeting can also result in a missed opportunity. A players, as I said, frequently bounce their analyses off their team and trusted advisors, but that does not mean that it's a tea-sipping, slow-moving process. It's energized. But just because it's energized doesn't mean it's quick. It can be very, very thorough. For example, I recall a meeting with Goldman Sachs the week of the 4th of July several years ago. And all members of this particular team were looking forward to one of their rare 4-day vacations. A couple of weeks later, I was back and inquired about their holiday, and the team had decided to cancel their vacation and do more analysis. They were competing for an investment banking deal, and their analysis resulted in a cool proposal with what they described as 30 moving parts, meaning they would be buying and selling stuff like currencies and sophisticated investments all over the world. But they just wanted a few more days to analyze a little more, and maybe figure out how to make the customer a little more money. As I said, they're competing against all the major investment bankers, and they figured that the most brilliant analysis would win the deal. Did that further analysis produce new insights? Well, they think so. The team spotted a couple more ways to make the customer money by having 35 moving parts rather than 30 moving parts, whatever that means. And so, yes, they got the deal. In short, A players figure out when a quick analysis is sufficient to make a decision and when a slower, very thorough, methodical analysis is best. Point number 3, A players connect the dots. After immersing themselves in a learning mode and getting others to help them analyze the issue from different angles, A players are frequently the ones to draw the brilliant inferences from the data. In other words, they connect the dots. They're not ready to make the decision until they've figured out the implications. So the leader might say, our analysis produced A, B, C, and D. And considering A and D together, the combined implications, that produces X, and X is where the super opportunity is. Things like that. In the Goldman Sachs example above, the weekend analysis produced a more sophisticated model that the customer chose. Stated a little differently, the learning and analysis steps were so thorough that Goldman connected more dots than their competitors did, and that made the difference between winning and losing the deal. Number 4, as you all know, A players are highly decisive, but I'm sure you also know sometimes too much so. Jack Welch was in a league by himself at making decisions. He transformed GE from heavy manufacturing to light manufacturing to service to financial to global. He was not inclined to hire a consultancy to create the GE strategy. He did it himself, naturally with the advice of others on the team. And guess who the major decision maker was all those highly successful years? Right, Jack Welch. And when he made a bad decision, as in the Kidder Peabody acquisition, he, as they say, manned up, and he took the heat himself. If A players rarely suffer from analysis paralysis, many do make decisions prematurely, qualifying them at times as so-called hip shooters. That bias to act drives A players nuts when some members of the team keep on thinking of reasons to have another meeting and stay in step 1 or stay in step 2 too long. And the A player perspective might be, hey, we're missing another season if we don't act now. Or, have you ever heard this? I'd rather make a mistake and risk a $10 million loss than miss this $1 million opportunity. As far as the subordinates are concerned, if the boss is willing to take the heat, they generally feel, hey, let's move without all this learning and analyzing and connecting the dots. Although we might learn later that we should have stayed in those steps a bit longer. So a major caution to A players is this. Realize that your impatience, your bias for action, and your powerful personality, all part of your being an A player, can result in regrettable decisions if you cut corners on your decision-making approach and if you intimidate people into going along with you. Number 5, after making great decisions, A players prove those decisions were correct by executing them with fanatic determination. Larry Bossidy, in his bestseller Execution, does a great job of spelling out how to execute decisions. Maybe Larry overstated his case a bit, claiming strategy is easy and execution is tough, but he does make a great point. A players are A players because they succeed, and they succeed not just by making great decisions, but by executing those decisions, so success results. Last, and I think maybe what's a bit new to you, step number 6, A players have a secret weapon. They're highly, highly resourceful. This is why I wrote the article, to try to convey what it's like to be in the presence of A players as they go through the 5 steps. And here's what we at Top Grading Incorporated have concluded during the past few decades. The single most important of the 50 competencies we rate following top grading interviews is, so what's the most important of the 50 competencies? The most important competency of all? It's resourcefulness. In interviews with A players, they nicely pat themselves on the back for finding solutions where others were daunted. That's what they do. They snatch success out of the jaws of defeat. They love to pull off miracles. Plenty of B players have more IQ points than many A players, but they don't have the A player resourcefulness. So this is a fairly important conclusion. A players make great decisions, and their secret weapon is not just learning a lot, though they do, not just analyzing the right amount and sometimes very thoroughly, though they do, not just connecting the dots, though they're great at that, nor being decisive, though they're very decisive, nor actually, despite what Larry Bossidy says, it's not just because they're really great at executing the decisions. Their secret weapon is resourcefulness. They always, resourcefulness. A players always exude that can-do spirit. They love to constantly figure out how to get over or around or through barriers to success. They exude resourcefulness when going through the steps not only to make great decisions, but to drive the organization to assure that the decisions are executed so well that, another success. So if you're screening people for any position, look for resourcefulness in the response to every question. And if you want to continue being an A player, get up every morning and look at a little note as you're shaving that says, be resourceful, be resourceful. Until next time, top grade your team and you will top grade your profits.